Well, hello, good morning and welcome to an episode of Camilla and I. I'm Mark Cooper and I'm continuing with my greatest tips, my 50 greatest tips. And the reason we're not on Superbike today is because the first tip of the day, I think it's tip number 21 of our greatest tips, is use the car as a hide. So yeah, absolutely invaluable technique in wildlife photography. Stick your big lens out the window and yeah. So I've got some pheasants in sight here, but obviously it's a bit dull today, but I'll show you a couple of pictures of pheasants taken in this exact spot on Salisbury Plain to just show you the value of taking pictures from the car. Use the car as a hide is tip number 21. Yeah, so just continuing on the tip of use the car as a hide. Don't just use the car window as a hide. Obviously you can use the whole car, and indeed you can use a beanbag on top of the car just as well. Anything to obscure the majority of your body, anything so you don't look like a human being, to disguise what you're up to. Well, it's a bit of a pea super, as I think we refer to it in the UK. It's a bit misty and foggy first thing in the morning up here on the plain. Anyway, so much for using the car as a hide, because on the way here, just to this little drive to Salisbury Plain, I disturbed a red kite and a buzzard driving the car. So both were perched in trees by the side of the road. So much for using the car as a hide. Darn thing. No, I mean inevitably they were going to fly off. Anyway, link to a photo where I had a red kite on this very drive, and it was during the day and it didn't fly off, and I got a lovely picture taken from the car. I think it's my best picture of a red kite in a tree. Yeah, so this is the view down the drive today on Camilla and I. Yeah, it's beautiful. Often a barn owl hunts down this particular pathway, which leads on to the main military area in Salisbury Plain. Beautiful area. And yeah, I'll throw in a few shots of a barn owl hunting down this lane. Superb. Well, the farmers are very good round here. They seem to have spilled some grain from the back of the old tractor, and yeah, very good for the wildlife. Well, we just got a red kestrel landed in this field over here, and oh, quick. Obviously not the best red kestrel shots I've ever taken. F4 ISO 1000 in these very misty conditions. It's the amount of diffraction between you and the subject that's the problem in these sort of conditions. There's so many small water droplets between you and the subject that even though I'm sure the photo is perfectly sharp, it's diffracted. Yeah, so tip number 22 from Salisbury Plain is support. You have to have the right support for the equipment you've got in hand. It's most important with all photography, and indeed still important with wildlife photography, to keep your camera as steady as possible. Absolutely crucial. And it can be just a beanbag, or it can be a monopod. In fact, I've done a whole series of different videos on support. It's such a key area for wildlife photography, so check out my support videos. I won't go through it all now, but support is absolutely crucial and would be it would be well up there in the top 10. There's no particular order for my 50 greatest wildlife tips, but this one would certainly be fundamental to all photography. Well, down this track, just on, which tree is it? This tree here, we've got a kestrel. So, yeah, I'll just try and get a little bit of footage. Yeah, so we've got a kestrel perched in a tree, just waiting for the mist to clear like everybody else, I suppose, and just checking out its surroundings. Oh, it's just taken off now. So, yeah. Awesome. Well, I've just got a buzzard sitting on top of the barn buildings over here now as well. So, yeah, this little beauty here. Raptors abound. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what's around. Salisbury Plain, great area. Ooh. Oh, just had a kestrel fly past, and red kite action again, despite being in this exposed position. Mind you, they did keep flying, so yeah, probably reason. Anyway, tip number 23, while we're on the subject, coffee breaks. Coffee, and indeed coffee is the only drug we do on Camilla and I. Don't even take an aspirin anymore. Used to take half one a day, don't know why, didn't really need to. Anyway, I cut that rubbish out. But even an aspirin has side effects. So the only drug we do, don't even do alcohol anymore. Gave up alcohol 5 years ago, for the photography principally, because wanted to keep a steady hand. Didn't want to have the old shakes or tremors. So yeah, the only drug we do or recommend on Camilla and I is tea and coffee. Well, as the sun breaks through on Salisbury Plain and the mists start rolling off, time for tip number, I think it's number 24, but I probably lost count by now. Anyway, the tip is wear the silly clothing, wear the camouflage. Doesn't cost that much. I think this jacket was 20 quid on eBay, but anyway, get the right kit, get a bit of camouflage out there, because I think all the animals are colourblind. I think we're one of the few species on the planet that can actually see in colour, but it pays to blend in with your background. So do I blend in with the background? Well, not exactly, but camouflage is the tip, and anything to break up the outline. The silly hat with the floating leaves is, well, I may look stupid, but I tell you, I've got about 50% more wildlife shots since I started wearing the silly camo. So yeah, tip number 24, get out your silly camo. It pays. I don't bother with the legs personally on Camilla and I, but the top half, if you see what I mean, the top half, okay? So yeah, camo. Yeah, and just don't get run over by a tank. That's the only proviso. Don't go so camouflaged in your ghillie suit or something that somebody shoots you up here, because that is a distinct possibility. Ooh.